Good afternoon. This is Mayor's press conference. We have a little bit of different affair going on here. I want to actually open it up to the other people here. We have donating a car to the Oblenis hospital system, healthcare system. With me is, why don't you introduce yourselves here?
Okay. I'm Adam Van Dyke. I'm the Director of Supply Chain there for the hospital.
Ken Dickin, I'm the Chief Financial Officer.
Of course, we have a chief. Go ahead, Steve.
Steve Knopf, I'm the Manager of Safety and Security at the hospital.
And Chief Tom Pyle, Athens Police.
And in substance, what we have is we have, of course, a rotation of cruises, police cruises and cars, and because we have one that's coming offline, we decided to, in the spirit of sharing, I guess, is to donate it to the Oblenis. And at that point, I think it's a good thing because then as we work together much more and we know what's going on, and if it has any problems, don't tell us about it. Okay, who would like to accept the key?
Yeah, Steve would be the...
Yeah, Steve
You're going to be the one driving it, huh?
That's right,
Okay,
sir.
there you go. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Did you want a picture of this? Okay. We're also going to bring in the photo documentarian here. Okay. Yes, it did. Okay, thank you. Part of the thing is, again, we do have cruises. We've done this in the past with Albany, I believe.
Right. We've donated cruises in the past, and this is something that we arranged with Oblenis a little over a year ago. Basically, the deal is they needed a car. We had one to give. And it may actually be a win-win for both departments because there might be occasions where they might be able to transport people to locations that we are normally responsible for transporting. They may be able to do that with this car when we're very busy, or they can assist us, and so it was a good deal.
I know where you have other vehicles, this is just adds to your fleet, right? Because I know you have a smaller vehicle I see you driving around, or somebody's driving around all the time.
We have off-sites facilities that we do patrol in another vehicle. This also will allow us to transport easier on our facility grounds the emergency preparedness trailer, and to have a four-wheel drive vehicle, of course, and inclement weather is going to be very beneficial. So very much appreciate the donation.
The only thing it helps, it builds up the resilience of the city to have all this equipment whenever possible. Okay, any questions? Do you have any questions?
When was the last time, if this has happened before, the APD donated a cruiser to Oblenis?
I don't know that it's ever happened.
I don't think it's ever happened.
I don't think it has, no.
The first for Oblenis, I think they mentioned Albany in the past, but
Again, most of our cars, towards the back end, we have a choice of actually trying to retire them to other departments.
Okay.
But really, they're much more suited because of the wiring harness, the suspension, and the powertrain for other police work.
Okay.
So we enable other villages and other organizations to actually, nonprofits, to actually go and supplement what they need. It's a cheap way for them to actually increase their force. We actually, the other shared duty, of course, is the JPAC, the OUPD and police force shared vehicle as well. I think that was their donation now at that time, right?
Correct.
So again, it comes down to the concept of shared services whenever possible, especially resources. It's not like we're all so flush that we can do this, but if we've got the capacity, we share. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Other questions?
And so is there a similar car that the hospital owns to the one that's being donated?
it's the quite dissimilar car that we very much appreciate, the bigger vehicle. We have a very economical vehicle.
Okay.
We don't do a lot of road work, like I say, other than checking off-site facilities. So being that it's a smaller vehicle, this vehicle really allows us to expand services, and again, work cooperatively with APD. We very much appreciate their service and other local law enforcement agencies. We do work cooperatively, and this vehicle will kind of expand that level of cooperation on our part as far as transports.
Mm-hmm. So again, will you be transporting, victims or that sort of thing to the hospital? Is this going to be an SUV then?
Yeah, it is. It's an expedition. It's roomier. I mean, we transport folks in our lots, for that matter, and stop by and see the other vehicle, and you go, okay, I know why you're loving it.
But it's a small compact.
Yeah, it is a compact. It's a Toyota Echo. So this is a very nice vehicle, and it'll just expand on our ability to serve our patients, visitors, and staff.
And you also have some kind of an emergency preparedness trailer that you
exactly.
you can haul with this vehicle where they didn't have before. So
Okay.
Very helpful, yeah.
All right.
So when do you use that, the trailer? How often do you use that? Or, you know,
We
how far
may
do
be
you have to
using
go?
it in the near future, but it's something that's kind of a work in progress. There are other trailers within the county at varying levels of preparedness. So our trailer is just a secondary decontamination, but to get it where we need it in close proximity to a hydrant and such, to have this vehicle will give us a lot more versatility.
The Echo won't do it, huh?
The Echo would scream if we tried, so, yeah.
Okay. And again, it's the idea of cooperation and shared services whenever possible. We need them, they need us, and it works out. I know occasionally you have to transport people to and from the hospital or away from the hospital, actually, on certain
Correct.
occasions. And this gives them an opportunity to have their vehicle to do that, so you don't have to scrunch them in the back or anything like
Right.
that. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, thanks. Thanks a lot.
All right.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yep, that's okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Yep, okay.
Thanks, Chief.
Drive it safely,
Thanks.
and Paula will get it signed, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Good sir.
Good to go? He wants to get your names right. Okay, let me get on to the rest of it. We're going to have, tomorrow night, Take Back the Night March, which will be, of course, at the, on campus. Starting at 7:30 as assembly, I think at Scripps Hall, and going to about 9:30. This is Take Back the Night March. Other things going on. We're doing a Grosvenor Fairview stair rehabilitation. This is Grosvenor stairs down to Fairview, or up to Fairview, I should say. We're going to be working on some of the parts of the stairs that are in bad repair. At that point, we'll be closed to pedestrian traffic. So please be aware that, don't go down the stairs while we're working on it. Bottom line. Beautification Day is coming up, of course. That will be April 14th. That's not this weekend, the next weekend. Starting at 12, check in at the Scripps Amphitheater. This will take us to around 2:30, I believe. The organization, of course, is the Ohio University Student Senate. I believe if you want to get involved, you can go to athensbday2013.everbright.com. Part of the thing is that we'll be doing a series of activities to beautify our city. Each volunteer will receive a T-shirt, and there will be a luncheon, I think, food afterwards. A light lunch provided by local businesses. And I say that's probably at the end of it. So that will be April 14th. Other things. We have spring cleanup coming at us. That is April 22nd to 26th. This is where you put out as many trash bags as you wish for your curb at the regular day, your pickup day in the city, with no extra charge. For larger items, you will be charged by the cubic yard. I think 25 for the first cubic yard, and $3.25 for each additional cubic yard. Construction materials, building materials, tires, liquids will not be accepted at the curbside. For yard waste, just call up our Public Works and we'll for normal pickups, which is 593-7636. There are also, in the past, we put dumpsters out at the service garage at 387 West State Street for scrap metal and trash. Residents can deposit the large items that they have in these containers between the hours of 7:30 and 7 without charge. So if you have something that you really don't want to spend the charge for, don't put it on the curb, come to our service garage. You'll need a photo ID or copy of utility bill showing that you are a resident of Athens. At the end of that week, the 27th, that would be the Saturday at the end of the last week of April, there'll be our Household Hazardous Waste Disposal Day and paper shredding too. As I say, this will be held the 27th. I believe it goes from 9 to 1, and it's in conjunction with the Athens Township too. So if you're a resident of Athens Township or the city, just bring some proof of residency and you can drop off your hazardous waste. This would, of course, include everything from paints, batteries, fluorescent bulbs, compact fluorescent bulbs. I checked on that. Again, we do this about every other year, and this is your chance to get rid of some of that household hazardous waste, pesticides. So that would be a start right there. Let's see, other things. This year we've been working on identifying traffic enforcement, the police department. So be aware that if you're speeding or having problems or running red lights, you will get ticketed. We'll spend some time doing that. Other things. We also, for the Numberfest, we'll be enforcing overloaded vehicle laws from the Numberfest. This is we found last year there were some precarious situations where actually too many people in the back of a pickup truck and actually hanging out the side of cars, and therefore that was a hazard. So we're going to start cracking down on that a little bit, just because of the safety aspect. From the code office, I've been told that the rental housing inspection for 2013 to 2014 is now available. Check online at the city website or contact the code office enforcement office. It's 592-3306, and this is for scheduling your rental inspections. So everybody who's a landlord or even a renter can go in and find out when their house is going to be inspected. It should be scheduled for the entire year. If you have any questions, as I say, call code enforcement office. Also, the code says a friendly reminder that with warmer temperatures hopefully finally upon us, don't forget to cut your grass and trim any bushes and trees that overhang the city sidewalks. Failure to do so could result in a violation. In particular, the sidewalks with the trees and branches hanging out. They become hazards, especially could poke somebody's eye out. We will be getting a move-out weekend is going to be coming up at the end of the month as well. Probably actually the first week in May, so we're going to get some flyers out there and it will be distributed by the off-campus housing areas the week of 29th. The idea is to get the disposables, recyclables, and reusables out. Another event, let's see, I think the Nuit Blanc is occurring this weekend as well. This is an all-night festival of arts. It will be uptown. I believe we'll cover, it's done other places, and hopefully it doesn't get too raucous, but it should be fun. This was an all-night dance and art medley. Take Back the Night we covered, and I think, let's see, 2 more items, I believe. Nothing like a different thing going on to just throw us off here. I see, let's see, 427. This is another parade permit. Oblantis Health System Race for a Reason. It's a 5K run, and it's going to actually start, it looks like it's going to be mostly on the bike path, but it will go off the bike path up to the ridges. So that will be the 27th of April. It looks like it's 2 different things, 5K and a mud run. I guess that's the same thing maybe. And that will start at 8 a.m. and go on from there. If you want more information, contact us, or keep your eyes peeled to the news. One other thing, too. Thursday, April 18th, 5:45 to 8:30, sponsored by the VA Healthcare at the Athens Community Center. It's free to attend. New cultural awareness, the new combat veteran. I believe it has to do with gaining insight, it says, to the numerous strengths that the veterans bring to our community. Part of the thing, I believe, is looking at what the needs are of the veteran, as well as how to plug them in when they come back. And that is, as I say, sponsored by the VA healthcare system. That is open to everybody. Target audience, it says, is general community, including first responders, healthcare providers, and other agencies and community partners. And with that, I'll probably take questions if you have any. Do you have any questions?
Yes, I do. I have a few questions about just regarding rental housing in the city.
Yeah.
How, if any way, does off-campus student rental, how does that affect the poverty rate in the city?
How does it affect the poverty rate? When you say that, I'm not sure how you mean. I mean, if you're talking about statistically?
Yeah.
Statistically, it brings it down. It actually, if you look at the poverty statistics, you're probably looking at, the census usually runs, I think, April 1st, if my memory is correct. The student population is in town. So therefore, and they're usually not high wage earners, even though they may have, come from a family with affluency, they're technically included in that population mix. Mm-hmm. Does that answer your question? How much so, I do not know.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you think that when the city's qualifying for like grant funding, for example, does this does the amount of student rental housing, does that affect the city's ability to get and qualify for grants?
In some cases, yes. Some grants aren't really tied into poverty rates. In particular, you're thinking about last Monday, we had that public hearing for the CHIP grant. The CHIP grant, they look at individuals, so therefore it doesn't really change the mix of what comes towards us and
Okay.
that level. On the other hand, there are, I forget if we qualify as a distressed county, and that has to do with the poverty level.
Okay.
And that's where you'd get a different mix of grants if you're a distressed county versus a non-distressed county. And that has to do with employment and poverty, et cetera. So we do get skewed on that. I don't know how, one of the things always goes back and forth is how accurate those numbers are for the students' population. A lot of them do not fill out the census. A lot of them, because they have occupancy, which is an issue in rentals a lot, do not record everybody who's there. I mean,
Yeah.
if you do a head count, you realize it's probably the student body is a little bit undercounted in general. But it does make a difference. I mean, I'm sure you're making, you're probably not making poverty level money. Are you gainfully employed?
Mm-hmm.
You're a post reporter. That doesn't mean you can make a lot of money, if any.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and I'm sure you're not working in the cafeteria or doing something else. So it shows that you're poor, technically.
Yeah.
Poor and going to debt, no doubt. So it does. There are some grants that it assists in, and some it doesn't. It's a wash.
So for a student that's an off-campus renter who may have like some sort of employment but doesn't make enough wage to be above the poverty rate, are they counted as an impoverished?
Yes.
They are then?
Yes.
So this doesn't bring the poverty rate higher than usual?
Okay, yeah, it does increase. Maybe I misspoke. It does increase the percentage.
Okay.
Okay. I thought you were saying does the poverty level percentage of people in the poverty range go up? It does.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Okay. I was looking. Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah. Well, what we're talking about, the dollar amount and the population numbers. Okay. The population number goes up because the students are poverty stricken.
Yeah.
Okay. The dollar amount probably is depressed because of that. And that's what I was thinking. I think that's
okay.
where. Yeah. Probably we were just talking different. Okay. I'm glad we've gotten that straightened out. So re-ask the question if you have it there.
Okay. So with the amount of off-campus housing renters then that are students who technically have an income that's below the poverty rate, so does that help the city of Athens then acquire grants?
Okay, that question hasn't changed that much. It does in some cases. The CHIP grant probably does. Let's see, the CHIP grant, it does a little bit because they look at individuals when they're doing the CHIP grant.
Okay.
Which is what the public hearing there. There is a CHIP grant formula that is actually in that mix as well. There's various pots of money out there for grants. The formula grant money, as far as I know, you have to put it into an impoverished by census block, impoverished section of town.
Okay.
That is where the student bodies come in, because at that point, if they're renting, let's say, Mill Street becomes an impoverished area.
Yeah.
Okay. Realize the landlords probably don't live there. They're probably not impoverished. But at the same time, the students, that census block, which is how they do it, they do little sections of the town, becomes one of those sections that has actually impoverished needs.
Okay.
Yes, and we have pretty much all the cities covered on there. There are sections of the town that don't fit. I would imagine some of the south side, University Estates, for instance, probably some portions of the north end of town. I'd have to look at the numbers, census numbers.
Okay.
So yeah, they do help in something like the CBG formula money.
Okay.
They probably help, as I say, in the distressed county area when it is designated as a distressed county because of the high percentage of impoverished students. But tell you the truth, it's not only the off-camp rentals; it's also the dorms. Technically,
really?
The dorms are, they will look at it as a census block, but that census block covers, South Green and portions of Oakmont and portions of, Mill Street. And they're all living there. It just looks at how many bodies and, what is your income. It doesn't really distinguish. If you were to parse it down more, you could probably say, yes, this is dormitory living, and therefore it doesn't really apply. But if you're looking at a census, which is just bodies and numbers, that's a different thing.
Okay.
And again, the census have changed over time. You have that every 10 years, but you have you have I forget the name of the company that does, organization that does it, but the census has one that they do every year to update it, but they're taking a smaller percentage. The 10-year one tries covering everybody, but the other ones take a snapshot. They do a 10% counting of the population and say, okay, we can infer by that 10% the rest of the population.
Okay.
Okay.
So if these students weren't counted as impoverished individuals, do you think that the city would be do you think it would make a difference in the amount of grant money through the state and through the federal government that the city would acquire?
Yeah, somewhat. Again, it would probably make a difference in terms of the formula money and the locations where we could apply that formula
Okay.
money. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I mean, we have, look at the Safe Routes to School grant, for instance. That's tied into populations of children of elementary school age. I mean, what you're looking at priorities that we set, priorities that the school system, it has to be within a half mile of a school, and it has to have the demographics of saying, okay, if you want to link point A to point B, you have to have that, you really require to have a population of schooling kids in that point A or point B to get from one place to the other. So, that's an example where another case, population makes a difference in how the grant gets applied.
So would there be any specific grants in particular that you just think of off the top of your head that the city?
The only one I can think of right now is the CBG formula, and that has to do with locations. Okay. I suspect some of the nonprofits probably can utilize some of it. I would think something like you'd probably want to look at talk to the Metropolitan Housing Authority. Unfortunately, I just missed the Athens Housing Coalition. This at 12. They were having their quarterly meeting, I believe, and they were doing the point-in-time count. In January, they do a point-in-time of homelessness, and again, that the percentage of poverty does do a mix on that, and that does affect where the grants are. But we don't, tell you the truth, most of the grants we're chasing for are infrastructure grants, and it doesn't always apply. I mean, we look at the age of the bridge rather than the number of poor people walking over the bridge or living under the bridge or something.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay.
Shifting gears a little bit.
Go ahead.
I just have a few questions about the rental population in general. Approximately how much of the city would you say is made up of rental properties?
The estimate usually has been about 72%.
Okay.
That is, I think, if my memory is correct, and I haven't checked the numbers in the past 2 years, I think. It's been hovering around 72 to 74.
Okay.
The Ohio average, I think, for a rental is about 34. So we're almost totally inverted at that point. And again, these are old numbers. When I started looking at this was probably when I first got into office saying, okay, what's going on here? It does make it difficult because you have a high transient population as a result. And the assumption, of course, is all that rental is student housing, but it's not all student housing. You have, renters who are long-time renters, professionals who don't want to own a house or don't feel that it's necessary to have home ownership.
So you wouldn't say that the university is the sole cause of Athens being, double the state average then?
The sole cause, well, it is the cause. I don't know if it's the only one.
Okay.
A lot of it has to do with the housing price, and it's really what drives the rental market is the lack of housing, dormitories or residential housing on campus.
Okay.
If you go back and do your history, you look in, I think, like the 70s, early 70s, 1970, 71, the enrollment at that time, the enrollment of the university was about 19,000, almost equivalent to what it is now, 20,000 and change. At that time, they had actually quite a few more dorms. At that time, and again, it's before my time because I wasn't here, I was told that there really wasn't a lot of rental housing there. There were people renting rooms. This predates our code office, so the rooms were actually, I was told at that time, actually the university had a code enforcement branch or code inspection. In other words, they would actually vet the rooming houses that they could let students live in, I'm told. You might want to backtrack on that, but really what happens when the student population crashed to about 13,000, somewhere in the mid-70s, like 72 or 73, and as a result, they basically shrunk a lot of the dorms down. If you look at West Green, for instance, Grosvenor, which is, and Irvine, which are both, research places for both medical school and biological sciences. What is now Stocker used to be a dorm. Let's see, Wilson is partially dorm, but it's also research park. They tore down at Howard Hall over here. Chubb Hall is, I think, is now back to residential. It used to be for many years. It was actually an administrative building. They had various, they had the police department still there, I believe, but they also had OU Press. They had purchasing that time. That shows how long I've been around here. They had they basically have pulled that back into the residential life area. Does that answer your question? Go ahead.
Has the percentage of the city that's made up of rental properties, has it changed over time then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. If you talk to the old timers, all home ownership was all up and down West Washington.
Okay.
I was at an event down there, and because there's a plaque there. I think it's George Washington Carver, maybe. There was a lot. It was mostly home ownership at that time. You're seeing that. You're seeing it coming out of the area. If you look at right now, there. When I first moved here, there were probably, maybe 10% of the houses on Mill Street were actually owner occupied.
Oh,
Now
really?
there's none. I think we're down to. There's only a few people still down in that area who are actually homeowners at this point.
Okay. So the amount of student rentals has risen in the over time then?
I would have to say so, but I'm not sure of
Okay.
the numbers. Really, the thing to do is contact the code office and see what the percentage of rentals are going up.
Okay.
And realize in the past 5 to 10 years, we've added on, let's see, University Commons is student housing there, Courtyard, Summit, Carriage Hill has kind of always been about the same mix.
Okay.
What I find anecdotally in my neighborhood, and I'm on the west side here, is that we really haven't had such a changeover. Mostly because what's interesting is that the perception is that's too far from campus for many of the students now. It used to not be considered that, but I seem to see a drift that they want to be closer into the campus.
Okay.
And that's why you realize, think of how much we've been building. Mill Street's been building out quite a bit in the past couple of years. Stewart, there's been at least 3 or 4. In the past 4 years, there's been at least 3 new apartment or multi-family units there.
So do you think that this affects, how the city government does its business then? Does it affect taxes in any way or, grant funding?
Well, it doesn't affect it affects the grant. If you were at the CHIP, you were here Monday, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah, okay. If you look at the CHIP grants that we work with, we're working different housing strategies on that. And one, of course, is home ownership improvements. What you're seeing on the other side is that they do have a component for rental upgrades. They don't take it doesn't get a lot of takers, mostly because the housing stock is being such a demand for rentals so high that you have a high price for a lot of these rentals. I mean, I've talked to people saying, I can't believe what the rent costs here for a rural area. But again, and as a result, the quality of the housing stock goes down for the rentals because the turnover is so much. It's a landlord's market rather than a renter's market. And therefore, I've seen where the kids are moving in at the same time the kids are moving out. So a chance to refurbish those rentals, it doesn't always occur properly.
Okay.
In a timely manner, at least.
And then I guess just my final question, completely unrelated. The city's Disabilities Commission is merging with Ohio University's Disability Commission.
Yeah. Not so much merging, they're going to be working together. I think they want to put a task force together or some coordination.
How long has the city's Disabilities Commission been in existence?
That's a good question. I don't know offhand.
Okay.
I'd have to backtrack and look at the ordinance that established it. It's got to be at least 10 years, I think.
Okay.
When I came on board, it was there. When I was in council, I think that would be 2004, it was around. So it's been around for at least 10 years.
Okay.
And it functions with the idea is getting some, it goes up, like any of these commissions with volunteers, it functions depending on who volunteers.
Okay.
I mean, you can get somebody very robust and very hands-on. You can get somebody who's, or a group that just doesn't have anything that needs to be done. We have some, there's a boards and commissions that don't even meet anymore. An example of that is the Housing Board of Appeals. There's a Zoning Board of Appeals, which I'm sure you're aware of, but the Housing Board of Appeals, they haven't had a case in many years, mostly because if there's a housing issue, and that has to do with the design of the house for a rental at that point, many of the landlords just will fix it. I mean, if there's a problem, if it's a question of the ceiling being too low, they will raise the ceiling. If it's a question of windows being too small, they'll widen the windows because they can afford doing that.
So will this change how what the commission carries out then with this merger?
I think there'll be a shift. I think they'll be more involved and overlap in terms of what needs to be done. If you look at some of the issues that the Disabilities Commission work on, it's really to make everything ADA accessible,
Okay.
and not just in name only, but actually make it practical so you can actually do something. If you go to Disabilities Commission, one of the things you hear is like, yeah, this they designed this bathroom or this entryway to be ADA accessible, but by where they put the hinges on the door, it doesn't make it possible. I mean, the width of the door is great, but the fact is that, if you have to back up 3 feet to open a door with a wheelchair, you can't get in easily.
Sure.
Or the ramps. And we're an older city here. We've got a lot of hills here. There are whole sections of town that you're almost inaccessible because, look at Jeff Hill, for instance. You can't put a wheelchair down Jeff Hill, on the sidewalk or even down the streets. It's just too steep. You look at this ramp and actually in front of City Hall here, the incline is almost too much. You have brick streets. We want the brick streets, but, try running a walker over Brick Street. It's not possible, So the idea is to try working in compliance. We still have issues. We've done a lot of work on Stimson, one side Stimson, because ATCO is over there, and it's where people get to and from. We still have to do more on the other side. We are always upgrading our ramps, handicap ramps on the sidewalks. We've been working our way through. Every time we do a new sidewalk, we make sure those get done properly. But even then, we don't cover everything. You look at some of the university buildings. They were built, 1804. I mean, how do you make something to retrofit at that point and still keep it historically accurate, at that point?
Okay. All right.
And so more than you want to know.
I
would go attend some of these things. I'll be interested to see how they work together because they, university is part of the campus, as part of the city, and there's enough students that overlap into campus.
Yeah. Do you have any idea when their first meeting will be?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I don't. I attend the disabilities commissions quite regularly, so I'll find out sooner or later. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Thanks.